Hello and welcome to the FHA Insider Podcast, where we sit down with food and beverage and hospitality's movers and shakers to discuss trends, current affairs, and industry buzz. Today, we'll be discussing nutrition trends during the coronavirus. The global pandemic has disrupted almost every facet of our lives, and in particular, the way we dine and shop. Joining us is Nicole and Monette Montaño of our knowledge partner, Asian Consumer Intelligence, and Pedram Assadi, COO of Foodpanda APAC. Welcome, guys, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me today.
Hi, thanks for having us.
So I'm going to go straight in with a really big question. COVID-19 has been called the ultimate disruptor. Pedram, how has Foodpanda adapted to this really rapidly changing situation?
Basically, it came really very, very quickly. The pandemic came really overnight in a week and surprised many industries, right? Basically, all of the industries were in one way or another impacted, and especially also us in the food delivery segment. So the one just macro level shift that happened is that we really moved from just core food delivery also to become essential service provider and add groceries on our platform and also more shops because we saw that there is a trend and there is a surge in demand for that specific items that weren't available before. So we really sprinted towards making more shops and merchants available on our platforms across the region in all our countries. So Foodpanda APAC is operating in 11 countries. And the situation is really different country by country. And if I may slice it or categorize it in three different scenarios, I would say that on the one hand, we have situations like in Singapore where the government has really encouraged everyone to stay home and only go out if really necessary. And we're working closely with the government together. We're supporting wherever we can support. And one of the things they asked us to do is really moving from food delivery and becoming an essential service provider, having groceries on our platform. And that's what we've done now. In all the zones in Singapore, you're able to buy grocery shops. And in such a country like Singapore, we've seen an organic growth in demand. So the frequency of the orders increased for customers, and we've also seen more customers coming on our platform. And it's of utmost importance for us to be able to provide products that are not available anymore for you. You can't go out anymore, and maybe the dining business is impacted and restaurants are closed, that they are still available for you while you are in quarantine at home. Then there is another set of countries like Taiwan specifically, where the government was very quick and acted very quickly, and there we don't see any impact. So if you walk in the streets of Taipei, you don't see much of a virus impact there. Restaurants are open and it's really business as usual. So there it's not any positive or negative impact on our business or any growth. It's really usual. And then there is the other extreme, which is more like in countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh that went in a more extreme way of solving for that. And we were working and are still working with the government closely together. One of the things that they asked us to do is really to stop operating in some of the zones, like in Pakistan, for instance. And then we really stopped and helped the government swiftly and gradually opening up zones. So now we're operating again everywhere. But there we saw a drop in demand and because of operations being impacted. So it's really these three different scenarios that we have because we have such a large geographical scope. But in whatever way, we're always working closely with the government together and solving for what we can solve and supporting the local communities and the countries. And more than that, I think how it has impacted us is how we operate internally. So just our own staff, employees, the whole workforce. So really overnight, we had to switch from working in the offices to working from home. And that's what we're doing now in mostly all our countries. And this was a change in mindset and behavior. But more than that, we have also thousands of customer service agents that are supporting our customers, our restaurants, and our partners. And overnight, we can imagine that that's quite a challenge, switching from going to the offices, large number of employees, to working from home and doing customer service from home. This was quite a challenge, but that happened quite swiftly. It was a new learning for all of us, and no one had a playbook really for that. You can't have a playbook really and be 100% prepared for that. But it was really important to be reactive, agile, and making that shift happen, to be able to continue operating while we're moving towards essential services. The other thing which we saw is that we wanted to, and that's still what we want to do, is support small and medium-sized restaurants, because those are the ones that are being impacted. When their dine-in business is closed, then there might be challenges in covering for the cost, OPEX and the rent and anything that is fixed cost. And what was of utmost important for us is that we onboard these small and medium-sized restaurants in a fast lane. So in Singapore, we onboard within 3 days and activate you, and you're on our platform immediately. And what we did is then we did additional boost and marketing campaigns for free for such local and small, medium-sized businesses as really local heroes. There's a lot of history and nostalgia that we want to support. And these small and medium-sized restaurants, they grew 40% more than all the other average restaurants. And that is something that we see two-sided. So on the consumer side, consumers were really are still very supportive. They're ordering from their local heroes, how we call them, office stores and anything that is in your area and is not necessarily a chain. And from the other side, we supported them with, premium placements and rankings and free marketing campaigns. Lastly, I think just to mention a number, over the last month, we saw about 15,000, more than 15,000 restaurants joining our platform. And with this fast lane onboarding and activation, we were able to really support and handhold the restaurants that are facing challenges during this time, because it's really important for us that after this crisis, the restaurants will come out of it and doesn't have to close any of the businesses because of the temporary challenge.
Well, it sounds like you didn't have a playbook, but it sounds like you might be able to write one going forward, because you've managed to not just pivot, but actually solve issues that have been insurmountable, really. So phenomenal, really. Monette, according to search trends, food associated with boosting immunity has been among the top queries worldwide. What are we seeing in Asia in particular, and why do you think this might be the case?
Right. Okay. Thanks, Nicole. Before I go on about what we're seeing in Asia, just to provide context for our listeners, I want to explain where I'm getting my data. So, Captivate is an intelligence tool that we use at Asian Consumer Intelligence. So it gathers and tracks food items, whether it's in CPG or in restaurants and cafes. So it does that in real time globally. So we use this platform to analyze what's going on flavor-wise or ingredient-wise in the F&B industry now. So we can help business partners in the F&B industry make informed decisions about their businesses. So based on the data we extract from Captivate, we've seen a noticeable increase in products and ingredients that are known for their vitamin boosting properties. So all those vitamins and minerals, like vitamin C, of course. And these products were, launched anywhere that we're looking at. They were launched anywhere between the end of February to the present. So essentially around the time of coronavirus. So in the Philippines, we're seeing a lot of calamansi-based drinks. So calamansi is Philippine lime. So it's like turmeric tea, all kinds of tea with calamansi and orange, or dalandan beverages. And virgin coconut oil infused anything is also something to watch in the Philippines. And all over Asia, actually. So citrus fruits in general are having a moment all over Asia. And it's not I don't think it's just because we're approaching the height of summer and citrus fruits are always trendy during the summer, but I think we're seeing that also because of their vitamin C properties. So we're also seeing a lot of mango, yuzu, mandarin oranges. So it's noticeable even in ice cream. So even in desserts, obviously the vitamin C content in ice cream is insignificant, probably, but still, it somehow is. It makes for an appealing feature, I guess, at this time. These are things that people are looking at and consuming more because they wanna be more prepared against the virus. All these food trends are on the rise in Asia, and we see these being confirmed by market industry reports in countries like Singapore, India, and China. So it's not just we're not just getting it from Captivate, but we're also confirming it with market reports from countries in Asia.
Right. Pedram,
Yeah.
we've heard that consumers are now becoming more conscious of the nutritional profile in their foods. They're looking to cut back on sugar, incorporate more vegetables into their diets. Have you seen a shift in consumers' preference for going back to basics?
I can speak on a more macro level, and what we've definitely seen is, especially during the last 2 years or so, but especially during the last 12 months now, especially we've seen that healthy restaurants have peaked. Anything that has a category type, as healthy with superfoods. Some of the terms that are surging are acai, quinoa, goji berries, vegetarian, salad. All of these are surging when we look into the search patterns of our customers. So that's definitely happening, and I think as we're impacted by the virus and many customers being at home, the frequency of ordering is increasing. And I think as you order more and more often, consumers themselves, just us human beings, we have a check and balance system. If you order, if you eat sometimes something that might not be too healthy, you balance it out the next day or during the week with some healthy items and salads. And I think that's what we're also seeing in our order and our consumer behaviors. As you know, we also started grocery delivery, so we have our Panda Mart service, which is really allowing our customers to order any grocery items under 30 minutes, and Singapore even under 20 minutes. And there we have very clearly seen a huge surge in any item that contains vitamins, especially vitamin C. Around 16 to 18% of the baskets are all filled with vegetables and fruits. And in each of the stores that we're supplying, the grocery stores, the 5 of the top 10 items are vegetables and fruits, and anything that is really, as you said, back to basics and making sure that there is a check and balance system of healthy nutrition for our consumers.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to come back to you later on the Panda Mart growth. But meanwhile, Monette, have you got anything to add to Pedram's comments?
I can agree with Pedram, and it's really the search trend is really towards healthy food, and as he said, he's been seeing an increase in the number of restaurants joining their platform. So I guess people are really comfort food and simple home cooked style food are really trending, or they're back in the mainstream now because they offer most value, I guess, in terms of nutrition, and fall into that nutritional profile that doctors recommend for people who want to manage their pre-existing medical conditions. So I would think that now there are a lot of people, seniors, people with diabetes, heart conditions, they're staying at home and they're doing everything they can to stay as healthy as possible. So going back to basics means that they don't want to do anything too risky, too experimental, out of the ordinary now. So, and basically people want something familiar and comforting because these are such uncertain times. And I also think that maybe they want food that represents more carefree or happy times before the coronavirus. So bread and rice seems to be that. I think coming from the Philippines, I know that bread and rice is really big here to many Filipinos and Asians, I'm guessing, who are eating together with their families at home. They're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. So yeah, home cooking is a common theme with people who are preparing their own food now. And I'm guessing it's also people are cooking more like home cooked style food is big now, and people are cooking at home also because maybe of cleanliness and sanitation concerns. So there's also I don't know if this is worth mentioning, but there's also a big baking obsession taking over globally. I've been reading about that. So baking bread and pastries is suddenly becoming a phenomenon. So people are so into baking at home that baking brands like McCormick, Nestle, Carnation, so they've all reported a sharp uptick in their sales. So people are buying all these baking ingredients now from groceries. And all these numbers and statistics are confirming that people are really becoming more conscious of what they're putting into their bodies. So now they have more time and resources to research, look it up in their phones and their laptops about what's good for them, what's healthy for them. They have time to look up recipes that they can whip up at home. And they also have access to great online marketplaces like Foodpanda that can deliver healthier food and ingredients and grocery items to their doorstep. So, yeah, to summarize, I definitely see a shift in going back to basics for consumers.
Right, and we've heard about some of those popular food types from you both. Pedram, do you have any data on how these have differed according to country or region?
Yeah, actually, we were not surprised. As expected, we've seen the surge across the region and all countries in a very similar ratio. And it's really what we can imagine, like, first of all, like the daily essentials, just like water, milk, bread, rice, anything that you can imagine surge immediately. Those are the core items, the core products. But if we now dig a little bit deeper into healthier choices, such as low sugar drinks, vitamin drinks, supplements such as bird nest or excess of chicken, and any nutritional and natural organic protein supplements, all of those really wherever available increased right away. And one of the things that we're doing whenever we see a surge in demand, we're actually feeding this information to our partners, and we help them to optimize their supply and their offerings on their shops and on their stores, and that's currently helping a lot of local shops to increase their sales on us as we're seeing the growth and health choices surging.
Right, and Monette, you touched on this earlier, but did you have any points to add to what Pedram just said there?
Right. So, Pedram was mentioning about low sugar drinks and just healthier options. So we are seeing a lot of healthier dessert and snack alternatives that are, I guess they're people are really into those more now because they wanna be responsible for taking care of their health. So we're seeing a lot more of the low sugar, low fat, high fiber, high protein alternatives. So we can see that in, say, no added sugar or low sugar chocolates, and potato chips, and all these crispy chips. They're still flying off the shelves, and we know this because, of course, these are still they're still they provide emotional satisfaction, like ice cream and all these desserts. So they somehow ease the burden of being at home during the lockdown. But we are seeing a trend to towards healthier alternatives for these snacks and these desserts.
Pedram, you mentioned earlier that you're seeing, more demand, and obviously you've catered to the need for food delivery and grocery delivery. Can you dig a little bit deeper into some of the trends in that?
So, without going now into the micro details, but the first thing that we saw over the past weeks is that the frequency of the ordering increased. So imagine if the average consumer ordered, 2 times, and this jumped to 3 times per week. And what we saw is that there is an increase in healthier ordering, while the, let's say, unhealthy ordering that is more is also growing, but to a lesser extent because it's more balanced now in a way. Because when you cook less at home, then you want to substitute that with healthier items or options. And in general, some of the top items we've seen was like, as mentioned, fresh fruits, milk, rice, but also alternatives towards instant pasta that are sometimes quick to make and prepare. But just the top seller across all the countries is water, wherever we have it available. And vitamin water, as mentioned as well. So just really across the board, any items that are either categorizing as core or healthier substitute options.
And apart from healthy, I think another trend that's really come through is this idea around local, which has obviously been driven due to the interruptions on the supply side to food and ingredients, and down to the closure of borders. How has Foodpanda responded to that particular challenge?
I mentioned earlier that we moved really as from food delivery to from essential service provider, and one of the things that we sprinted towards and is still a big focus for us is really to partner up with all small shops and small medium-sized merchants in your area in order to allow them to be on our platform and consumers to order from them. And I think that's a little bit what we believe in. We are a very local company. We want to empower the local communities and help them with their shift from offline to online. I think specifically in cases now where their dining business or just their walk-in, their retail business is impacted, that's very important. While you're sitting at home, we want these shops to be present on your phone, right? As we're moving towards a digital world more and more and spending more time on our phones, it's just really important that these local shops, there's a lot of history, a lot of nostalgia, that we bring this and that we bring them and help them in the transition to be available online. And that's something that we very much believe in. We're a very local company, and we operate very close to local cultures, communities, and that's also where it's really important that in our partnership model, where we work close with local shops, that we are able to empower them and allow them to grow.
I mean, I think morally and also just, from a business perspective, it just seems the right thing to do. Local businesses have been decimated with this, and by reaching out to them and supporting them locally, you're definitely putting businesses that have never had the chance to go through a digital transformation themselves and give them that opportunity to get online and get their products out in front of people. So, we really admire that. One of the phrases that really gets bandied around right now is the phrase "the new normal," and in the past it was often used to describe a recession or a natural disaster, but this really is quite unprecedented times, and I think the phrase "the new normal" just about starts to sum up the dramatic shift in behaviour which is happening. Pedram, what do you think will endure even after this situation eases, and how do you think the food industry will adapt?
Or Q-commerce, this is the next phase of the e-commerce cycle. It's basically you can sit at home and order anything that you want, and you can get it under 30 minutes. And this will be one of the shifts and of the consumer behaviors that we believe. And so if you take a step back, previously when you order something from Amazon, it takes 3, 4, 5 days to get it. The supply chain is very complex. It takes warehousing, fulfillment, airplanes, everything, and the product arrives then 4 or 5 days later. And what we want to do by us entering the Q-commerce industry will be then really having everything available within 30 minutes. And we believe that becomes the new norm. This can be food, this can be any other essential services, but if you want to just also order flowers for anyone, you don't need to do that the day before with like pre-booking and everything. You can just choose a flower shop that is in the area of the person that you want to send it to, and in 30 minutes it's there. So it's really bypassing a lot of outdated supply chains and warehouses that currently exist, and that will be the next phase. In general though, what this also brings is more people adapting to online ordering. Food is one, but also groceries. And what we want to support and encourage is obviously healthy eating. We don't discriminate against any cuisine. Everything is available. It's just important that it's balanced, right? Like there has to be a checks and balances system, and I think the body is very good in doing that more or less automatically through consciousness. But we really believe in promoting healthy ordering because that increases also the frequency. And that's basically what we believe in. And it's just in general our commitment to, during difficult times that we're ahead now, to bring positivity and help the customers that are maybe getting a bit anxious or nervous at home, to bring some joy in life with products that you might miss that we can deliver to you.
Right, and Monette, have you got something to add to that? Because Pedram just mentioned, about checks and balances.
Right. Well, yeah, I think first of all, it would really be good to have and to have your deliveries, your orders, to get them within 30 minutes. I mean, I think that's a big help, and I think moving forward, I agree that would be with the new normal. People will really appreciate something like that, even after the situation lightens up. But coming from a more ingredient and nutrition focused perspective, I guess the new normal would be people would look more into functionality of their food. So brands now, companies have more reason to surge forward with innovations in food functionality, formulation, and realizing that food plays a big part in improving health and maintaining health. People will be more focused now, more than ever, on healthier alternatives and what benefits these healthy ingredients would bring to the table. And people are, because of this situation now, I think people are also more open to. It made people more open to try out new things. Pedram was saying about all these small businesses, startups joining Foodpanda, and I think that's great. And I think people are also seeing that, and they're trying out all these new things, all these new food. So I think the important thing, one important thing is people are gonna be really more into their health. And another thing that I wanted to mention, that maybe moving forward, the new normal would also bring to light some other functionalities of food. So maybe also functions in terms of cognitive functions, like the importance of mental health, with all the fear and anxiety that this coronavirus has brought into our lives. So maybe nootropics is something that will benefit in a big way after the situation lightens down. So people will be looking at things that would calm them down and would bring stress relief. Another thing maybe is packaging and food safety innovations. So because people are really focused on cleanliness and sanitation now. So I'm thinking that maybe companies moving forward will be highlighting unique packaging features or practices that highlight how their products have been made. And coming from what was said earlier as well, I think supporting local is something that has been a trend. And moving forward, I don't think it's going to let up, and I think it's going to continue. People are now more likely wanting to know the source of their food, and they're increasingly biased to food from their own community and from their own community-supported agriculture. So the increase in demand for more local, traceable food is something that has longevity. These are the directions I see in terms of the food industry that they will likely move into when the situation improves and the new normal resumes.
So it sounds like to me the key takeaways for this are focus on local, support the community, improve efficiency, and look to healthier foods, but also, as Pedram says, look to that checks and balances that also support that need for indulgence that we need from time to time. And in the future, ingredients that support mental as well as physical health.
Thank you, Nicole, Monette, and Pedram, for that incredibly insightful discussion. Listeners, you can read more about today's discussion in a special report contributed by Asian Consumer Intelligence, and you'll find the link in the description below. And of course, stay home and stay safe by getting your meals and or groceries delivered to you via the Foodpanda app.